The crystal chandeliers of the celestial Grand Hotel cast fractured light across Maya Reeves' borrowed silver dress. She pressed her palm against the cool marble pillar, steadying herself as the room spun with champagne bubbles and expensive perfume. 3 months behind on rent. 2 lost clients. 1 dying dream. She had rehearsed her pitch 50 times in the mirror of her cramped studio apartment. Tonight was supposed to save everything. Then she saw him. Derek Chen stood by the champagne fountain, his arm draped around a woman wearing diamonds that could fund Maya's entire future. Her ex-boyfriend looked exactly as he always had, successful, smug, untouchable. The man who had called her art a waste of time. The man who had cheated on her and blamed her lack of ambition. The room tilted. Maya turned fast, her heels catching on the polished floor. She needed to disappear. She needed a shield. Her desperate gaze landed on a man standing alone near the terrace doors. Dark hair, broad shoulders, a tuxedo that fit like it was born on him. He held a glass of whiskey and stared at the city lights as if they owed him something. Maya crossed the distance in 6 frantic heartbeats. She touched his arm. He turned. Time fractured. He was younger than she expected, maybe early 30s, with sharp features and eyes the color of warm honey. When he looked at her, really looked at her, she felt seen for the first time in months. "Please," she whispered, her voice raw with desperation. "I know this is insane, but would you pretend to be my date? Just for a few minutes. My ex is here, and I cannot deal with him right now." The man studied her face. Maya braced for rejection. Instead, he smiled. A real smile that reached his eyes. "Of course," he said simply, his voice deep and gentle. "What's his name?" "Derek Chen. The guy in the gray suit who looks like he's never heard the word no." The man glanced toward Derek. Something unreadable flickered across his face. "I'm James," he said, offering his hand. Maya, his hand was warm and steady around hers. "Thank you. Seriously, you have no idea how much you're saving me." "I think I might," James said, with a knowing look. "Shall we make this convincing?" Before Maya could answer, he placed his hand on the small of her back and guided her deeper into the ballroom. The touch was intimate, protective, unmistakably romantic. "So Maya," James said, his tone perfectly balanced between friendly and flirtatious. "Tell me something real. Not the networking pitch you've been practicing. Something true." Maya blinked. No one at events like this asks questions like that. She glanced at him, searching his face. His expression was sincere. "I'm terrified," she admitted quietly. "Of being here. Of failing. Of running into Derek and having him see that I'm still struggling while he's clearly thriving. Of proving him right when he said I'd never make it." James's expression softened. "He's wrong, by the way." "About you not making it? You don't even know what I do?" Maya said with a self-deprecating laugh. "True. So tell me, what do you do when you're not attending charity galas and recruiting fake dates?" Despite everything, Maya smiled. "I'm a graphic designer. I run a small studio called Dream Canvas. We do branding, visual identity. It's struggling right now, but the work itself is exactly what I love." James nodded thoughtfully. "That's the most important part. Loving the work. Everything else is just logistics and timing." "That's a very optimistic way of looking at mounting debt and empty client lists." "I prefer to think of it as realistic," James replied. "Most successful ventures go through rough patches. The ones that survive are led by people who care enough to keep going when it's hard. You strike me as someone who cares." "You got all that from 2 minutes of conversation?" "I'm good at reading people," James said with a slight smile. "It's essential in my line of work, which is complicated," James said, humor in his tone. "Maybe we can talk about that later. Right now, I believe we have an ex-boyfriend to convince." Maya followed his gaze. Derek was approaching with purpose, his date attached to his arm like an expensive accessory. "Here we go," Maya muttered. "Trust me," James said quietly, his hand still resting on her back. "Just follow my lead." Derek reached them with that practiced smile Maya used to think was charming. "Maya," Derek said, false warmth dripping from every syllable. "What a surprise." I didn't know you moved in these circles. Before Maya could respond, James extended his hand with easy confidence. James Hartwell, he said smoothly. Maya's told me so much about you. Interesting to finally put a face to the name. Derek shook his hand, but uncertainty crossed his face. Hartwell, Derek repeated slowly. Are you with Hartwell Industries? I am, James confirmed. Maya's breath caught. Hartwell Industries. One of the biggest conglomerates in the city. They sponsored half this event. Derek's entire demeanor changed. The condescension evaporated, replaced by barely concealed eagerness. That's impressive, Derek said, trying to recover. And you two are together? We've been seeing each other for a few months now, James said, his arms sliding fully around Maya's waist. Maya's been incredibly patient with my demanding schedule. Maya tried not to show her surprise. James was committing to this lie with remarkable ease. How nice, Derek said tightly. Maya, I had no idea you'd moved on so quickly. Or so well. The insult landed like a slap. But James didn't give her time to respond. Actually, I'm the lucky one, James said, looking at Maya with an expression so warm she almost believed him. Maya is brilliant. I've been trying to convince her to let me invest in her studio, but she's fiercely independent. It's one of the things I admire most about her. Maya's face flushed. The compliment caught her completely off guard. Derek's jaw tightened. Well, he said stiffly. That's great. Really great. We should catch up sometime, Maya. I'm sure Maya would love that, James said pleasantly. But we're actually quite busy these days. Between her studio expansion and my board meetings, we barely have time for ourselves, let alone social catch-ups with old friends. The emphasis on old was subtle, but unmistakable. Derek's face hardened. Of course. Enjoy your evening. He walked away quickly, his date trailing behind while tapping on her phone. Maya watched them go, relief and disbelief flooding through her. She turned to James, who was smiling as if he'd just won a satisfying game. Studio expansion, Maya said incredulously. Board meetings? You're going to tell me I went too far? James said, amusement in his voice. You told him you wanted to invest in my failing business? I didn't say failing, James corrected gently, and I meant it. Maya stared at him. You're serious? Completely. You don't even know anything about my company. You met me 5 minutes ago? This was supposed to be fake. James's expression shifted, becoming more serious, more vulnerable. Maya, he said quietly, I need to tell you something. About who I am. About why I'm really here tonight. Maya's heart began to race. What do you mean? James opened his mouth to speak. Then the lights went out. The entire ballroom plunged into darkness. A woman screamed. Glass shattered somewhere in the blackness. Maya felt James's hand tighten around her waist, pulling her close. Stay with me, he said urgently in her ear. Don't move. What's happening? Maya whispered. I don't know, James said. But something's very wrong. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in eerie red. And that's when Maya saw them. 3 figures in black masks, standing at the ballroom entrance. One of them was holding a gun. The emergency lights painted everyone in blood-red shadows. Maya's breath came in short, panicked gasps as the masked figures spread out across the ballroom. Guests froze like deer caught in headlights. The gun glinted under the crimson glow. James's arm was still around her waist. But something had changed in his posture. He wasn't afraid. He was calculating. Listen carefully, James whispered against her ear. So quietly she almost couldn't hear him over the rising panic in the room. When I move, you move with me. Don't ask questions. Just trust me. James, what nobody move. One of the masked figures shouted. Everyone stay exactly where you are. Maya's whole body trembled. This couldn't be happening. This was supposed to be a networking event. Her last, desperate chance to save her business. Not some nightmare straight out of a thriller. James's hand slipped from her waist to her wrist. His grip firm but not painful. Now he breathed. He pulled her sideways. Fast and smooth, behind one of the marble pillars. They pressed against the cold stone as chaos erupted around them. People were screaming now, crying, some dropping to the floor. "James, we need to call the police," Maya whispered frantically. "They're already on their way," James said with absolute certainty. Maya stared at him in the red-tinged darkness. "How do you know that?" James met her eyes. In that moment, she saw something that made her stomach drop. This wasn't just confidence. This was knowledge. Control. "Because I own this hotel," James said quietly. "My security team triggered the silent alarm the moment those doors opened. Police will be here in 3 minutes. But right now, I need to get you somewhere safe." Maya's mind reeled. "You own the Celestial Grand." "Among other things," James said, his jaw tight. "Maya, I'm sorry. I should have told you from the beginning. My full name is James Hartwell. I don't just work for Hartwell Industries. I run it. This hotel, the one your charity gala is being held in, is mine. And those people out there are about to realize they made a very big mistake." Maya felt like the floor had disappeared beneath her feet. "You lied to me?" "I didn't lie," James said urgently. "I just didn't correct your assumptions. I wanted one night where someone talked to me like I was just a person, not a billionaire or a business opportunity. When you asked me to pretend to be your date, it felt like the universe was giving me exactly what I'd been hoping for. So this was all what? Some kind of game for you?" Maya's voice cracked. "Poor struggling artist asks the secret billionaire to be her fake boyfriend. That must have been so entertaining." Pain flashed across James's face. "Maya, no. That's not what this was." "Then what was it?" Maya demanded, tears burning her eyes. Before James could answer, a voice cut through the chaos. "James Hartwell." One of the masked figures called out, scanning the crowd. "We know you're here. Show yourself or people start getting hurt." Maya's blood turned to ice. James's expression hardened into something cold and dangerous. "They're here for me," he said quietly. "This isn't a robbery. This is a message. What are you talking about?" 6 months ago, I shut down a development deal with some very dangerous people. They wanted to build luxury condos on protected wetlands. I killed the project and reported them to federal authorities. 3 of them went to prison." James's voice was steady, but his eyes were dark. "I've been getting threats ever since. I thought they were just trying to scare me." I was wrong, Maya's mind spun. An hour ago, she was worried about rent. Now she was caught in the middle of some billionaire vendetta situation. "You had to turn yourself in," Maya said. "If they're here for you, then if I turn myself in..." "There's no guarantee they won't hurt people anyway," James interrupted. "But if I can get you and as many others as possible out through the service exits before the police arrive." Then James Hartwell. The voice called again, more aggressive now. "Final warning." James looked at Maya, his expression raw and vulnerable in a way that made her chest ache despite everything. "I know you have every reason not to trust me right now," he said quietly. "But I am asking you to anyway, please. Let me get you out of here." Maya stared at him. This man who had played her fake boyfriend so convincingly. This man who had defended her to her ex with words that felt real. This man who is apparently a billionaire with enemies willing to take a ballroom hostage. She should run. She should scream. She should do literally anything except trust him. Instead, she squeezed his hand. "Get me out of here," she whispered. Relief flooded James's face. He pulled her deeper into the shadows along the wall. Moving with the kind of confidence that came from knowing every inch of this building. They passed behind decorative screens and through a door Maya hadn't even noticed was there. The service corridor was narrow and dimly lit. Their footsteps echoed on concrete. "There's an exit 2 floors down," James said, still holding her hand. "It leads to the parking garage. My driver is waiting there. He'll get you somewhere safe." "What about you?" Maya asked. "I'm going back," James said simply. Maya stopped walking, yanking him to a halt. "You're insane." "You just said they're here to hurt you." "They're here to send a message," James corrected. "But they won't actually do anything once the police arrive. They'll disappear." "But if I don't go back, if they think I ran and left all those people, then they win. They prove I'm a coward who hides behind money and security." "Who cares what they prove?" Maya said desperately. You'll be alive. James stepped closer to her, close enough that she could see the gold flecks in his honey-colored eyes. I care, he said softly, because that's not who I am. And because I need you to know that everything I said to you tonight, everything about admiring your independence and wanting to invest in your dream, that was real. The only thing I lied about was my last name. Everything else was true. Maya's breath caught in her throat. James' footsteps echoed down the corridor behind them, fast, getting closer. James's expression changed instantly, pushing her toward the stairs. Now, Maya ran. Her heels clattered on the concrete steps as she descended, her heart hammering against her ribs. Behind her, she heard shouting. A scuffle. Something heavy hitting a wall. She burst through the door into the parking garage, gasping for air. A sleek black car sat idling near the exit. A driver in a dark suit stepped out, his expression alert. Miss Reeves? He said. Mr. Hartwell sent word you'd be coming. Please, get in the car. Maya looked back at the door she'd just come through. No James, no sounds of footsteps following. I can't leave him, she said. Mr. Hartwell was very clear, the driver said firmly. He needs you safe. She should get in the car. She should let this professional driver take her far away from whatever nightmare was unfolding upstairs instead. She turned and ran back toward the stairs. Miss Reeves, wait. The driver called, but she was already gone. Maya took the steps 2 at a time, her dress tearing on the rough concrete. She burst back into the service corridor and froze. James was on his knees. 2 masked figures stood over him. One held a gun to his head, but it was the third figure that made Maya's world shatter, the figure who'd just pulled off. Their mask, Derek Chen, smiled at her, cold and triumphant. Hello, Maya, Derek said. Glad you could join us. Maya couldn't breathe. The corridor walls closed in as Derek's smile widened, sharp and cruel in the fluorescent light. James remained on his knees, blood trickling from a cut above his eyebrow, his hands raised in surrender. The gun pressed against his skull. Derek, Maya whispered, her voice strangled. What are you doing? What I should have done months ago, Derek said, stepping toward her. Taking what I deserve. You see, James Hartwell here cost my investors a fortune when he killed that wetland development. My investors? The ones who were going to make me partner at the firm. The ones who are now facing federal charges because your billionaire boyfriend decided to play environmental hero. Maya's mind raced. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. You're working for them, she said. The people, James reported. Thing with them, Derek corrected. There's a difference. And tonight was supposed to be simple. Scare Hartwell, send a message, maybe rough him up a little. But then you walked in, clinging to him like he was your savior. Derek laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. Do you know how perfect that is? The girl who was never good enough for me now playing dress-up with a billionaire. It's almost poetic. Let him go, Maya said, her voice shaking but firm. This is between you and him. I have nothing to do with it. Oh, but you do now, Derek said, pulling a phone from his pocket. See? I was going to just deliver Hartwell a beating and disappear. But now, I have leverage. The police are about to storm this building. When they do, they'll find James Hartwell dead and you standing over him with the gun. The desperate artist who seduced a billionaire and then killed him when he wouldn't give her the money she needed. Horror crashed over Maya like a freezing wave. No one will believe that, won't they? Derek tilted his head. Failed business owner, drowning in debt, suddenly shows up to a gala she couldn't afford to attend. Gets cozy with one of the richest men in the city. Things go wrong. She snaps. It's a tragedy, really. I'll make sure to speak very sadly at your trial. Derek, please, Maya said, tears streaming down her face now. I never did anything to you. You embarrassed me, Derek snapped, his composure cracking for the first time. You left me. You chose your pathetic little art studio over a future with me, over stability, over everything I offered you. And then you show up here on the arm of James Hartwell like you're something special, like you won. This isn't about winning, Maya said desperately. Everything's about winning, Derek said coldly. James spoke for the first time. His voice low and controlled despite the gun against his head. "Maya," he said, "look at me." Maya met his eyes. Even now, even with blood running down his face and death inches away, there was something steady in his gaze. Something that said he wasn't afraid. "When I tell you to run," James said quietly, "you run. Don't look back. Don't stop. Get to the parking garage and tell my driver to take you to the police station. Tell them everything." "James, no, promise me," James said, his voice urgent now. "Promise me you'll run." "How touching," Derek said mockingly. "The billionaire playing hero? But nobody's running anywhere." "Actually," James said, a slight smile playing at his lips, "that's where you're wrong." In one fluid motion, James twisted, grabbing the wrist of the person holding the gun and yanking it away from his head. The gun went off, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. The bullet hit the concrete ceiling, sending dust and debris raining down. "Run," James shouted. Maya ran. She heard the sounds of fighting behind her, grunts and thuds and Derek screaming orders. Her legs burned as she flew down the stairs again, her torn dress catching on the railing. She hit the parking garage at full speed. The driver was still there, standing beside the open car door, his expression alarmed as he heard the gunshot echo from above. "Drive." Maya gasped as she threw herself into the back seat. Now, the driver didn't ask questions. He gunned the engine, and the car rocketed toward the exit. As they burst out onto the street, Maya looked back at the hotel. Police cars were screaming up to the entrance, their lights painting everything in blue and red. "Where to, miss?" the driver asked. "Police station," Maya said, her voice hollow. "Take me to the police station." The driver nodded and turned sharply onto the main road. Maya's hands wouldn't stop shaking. She pressed them against her face, trying to breathe, trying to think. James had saved her. He'd given her a chance to escape. But what happened to him? Was he still alive? Was Derek? "Miss," the driver said gently, "Mr. Hartwell has been in difficult situations before. He knows how to handle himself." "You don't understand," Maya said. "There were 3 of them. One had a gun. Mr. Hartwell has resources you might not be aware of," the driver said cryptically. "Trust that he's taken precautions." The police station came into view. The driver pulled up to the entrance and turned to face Maya. "Whatever happens next," he said, "know that Mr. Hartwell cares about you. I've worked for him for 8 years. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looked at you tonight." Maya's throat tightened. "I barely know him. Tonight was supposed to be fake. Sometimes the most real things start that way," the driver said with a small smile. Maya got out of the car and walked on numb legs into the police station. She told them everything. Derek's confession. The gun, the threats. James's plan to distract them so she could escape. The officers listened with increasingly grave expressions, taking notes, making calls. Then one of them received a message on his radio. His face went pale. "What?" Maya asked. "What happened?" The officer looked at her with something that might have been pity. "There's been a situation at the Celestial Grand. We need you to come with us." "Is James okay?" Maya demanded. "Is he alive?" "We need you to come with us," the officer repeated. They put her in the back of a police car and drove back to the hotel, sirens wailing. The entire street was blocked off now. Ambulances, fire trucks, news vans already setting up cameras. The officer opened the door and helped Maya out. She stood on shaking legs, looking at the chaos. "This way," he said, guiding her toward the hotel entrance. They walked through the lobby, filled with police and paramedics. Guests were being interviewed, some wrapped in blankets, others crying. Maya searched every face for James or Derek or anyone who could tell her what happened. Then she saw him. James sat on a bench near the elevator, an EMT cleaning the cut on his forehead. He was alive. He was okay. Relief crashed over Maya so hard she nearly collapsed. James looked up and saw her. His entire face transformed. He stood, pushing past the EMT, and crossed the lobby in quick strides. Then Maya was in his arms and he was holding her like she was the only real thing in the world. "You're okay, James," breathed against her hair. "Thank God." "You're okay," Maya echoed. her tears soaking into his torn tuxedo shirt. They stood like that for a long moment, just breathing, just holding each other. Finally, Maya pulled back enough to look at him. "Derek?" she asked quietly. James's expression darkened. "In custody. His associates, too. They won't be bothering anyone for a very long time." Maya nodded, processing this. "James, I need to know something. Tonight, before all this happened, when you said you wanted to invest in my studio, when you said all those things to Derek, was any of that real? Or was it just part of the act?" James looked at her for a long moment. Then he cupped her face gently in both hands. "Every word was real," he said softly. "Meeting you tonight was the most genuine thing that's happened to me in years. You saw me as just a person. Just James, do you know how rare that is?" "But I didn't see the real you," Maya said, her voice breaking. "I didn't know you were James Hartwell. I didn't know about any of this." "You saw the parts of me that matter," James said. "The rest is just noise." Maya wanted to believe him. She wanted to fall into those honey-colored eyes and trust that this could be real. But her phone buzzed in her clutch purse. She pulled it out with shaking hands. The text was from an unknown number. "Check your business account. Consider it an investment. No strings. Just believe in yourself the way I believe in you." Maya opened her banking app with trembling fingers. Her business account balance had gone from negative $3,000 to positive $500,000. She looked up at James. Shock and anger and confusion warring on her face. "You can't just do that," she whispered. "I can," James said simply. "And I did. Because you deserve a chance to succeed without drowning. Because your work matters. Because you matter. You barely know me." "I know enough," James said. "And I want to know more. If you'll let me." Maya stared at the number on her phone. $500,000. Enough to save her studio 10 times over. Enough to finally breathe. But it felt like a cage made of gold. "I need time," Maya said quietly. "To think. To process all of this." Pain flickered across James's face, but he nodded. "Take all the time you need," he said. "I'll be here when you're ready." Maya turned and walked away, her heart cracking with every step. She didn't look back. 3 weeks passed like a fever dream. Maya sat in her studio surrounded by new equipment she'd purchased with James's money, and felt nothing but hollow. The space smelled of fresh paint and possibility. But every time she tried to work, all she could see was his face in the police-lit chaos of that night. The way he'd looked at her like she was precious. The way he'd risked everything to get her to safety. The way he'd tried to buy her future without asking. Her phone buzzed constantly. Messages from James. Never pushy, never demanding. Just small things. A photo of a sunset with the caption, "Thought of you." An article about emerging designers. A simple "hope you're okay." She never responded. Rachel had called it self-sabotage. He's a literal billionaire who likes you and wants to help. What exactly is the problem? But Maya couldn't explain the problem without sounding ungrateful or stupid. How did you tell someone that being saved felt like drowning? That owing someone everything meant owing them parts of yourself you couldn't afford to give? Her laptop dinged. An email from a potential client. A good one. The kind of branding project that could legitimately save her studio through her own work. Not someone else's charity. Maya opened it with cautious hope. Then her blood ran cold. "Dear Ms. Reeves, we regret to inform you that we will be moving forward with another design firm. While your portfolio shows promise, we've learned some concerning information about your business practices and personal associations that make you unsuitable for our brand. We wish you the best in your future endeavors." Maya read it 3 times, her stomach twisting tighter each time. Personal associations. She grabbed her phone and pulled up her web browser. Typed her own name into the search bar. The results hit her like a physical blow. Articles, dozens of them. Gossip sites, business blogs, even legitimate news outlets. All asking variations of the same question: who is Maya Reeves? The mystery woman who captured billionaire James Hartwell's heart. Photos from the gala. Her and James, his arm around her waist, looking at each other with expressions that seemed far too intimate for a fake date. Headlines speculating about their relationship, about her background, about whether she was a gold digger, an opportunist, someone using a traumatic event to secure a billionaire's affection. Her hands shook so hard she nearly dropped the phone. Her private life, her business, her entire existence was being dissected by strangers. And it was destroying everything she'd worked for. Maya grabbed her keys and drove to the only place she could think of. The celestial Grand Hotel rose against the evening sky like a monument to wealth and power. Maya parked in the visitor's lot and walked through the front entrance with her head high, even though inside she was screaming, "Can I help you, miss?" The concierge asked politely. "I need to see James Hartwell," Maya said. The concierge's expression shifted to something carefully neutral. "Do you have an appointment?" "Tell him Maya Reeves is here." Recognition flashed across the concierge's face. He picked up the phone, spoke quietly, then nodded at Maya. "Mr. Hartwell will see you immediately. Top floor. The private elevator requires a key card." He handed her a slim card. Maya took it with numb fingers and walked to the elevator marked Penthouse. Private access. The ride up felt eternal. The doors opened directly into a stunning apartment that occupied the entire top floor. Floor 2 ceiling windows overlooked the city. Minimalist furniture. Art on the walls that probably cost more than her entire studio. James stood by the windows, his back to her. He wore jeans and a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled up. More casual than she'd ever seen him. He turned as she stepped out of the elevator. The hope that lit up his face made her heart crack. "Maya," he said, crossing to her quickly. "I'm so glad you came. I've been wanting to talk to you. I've been giving you space, but there's so much I need to explain. Did you do this?" Maya interrupted, her voice shaking. She held up her phone, showing him the search results. James took the phone, his expression growing darker with each article he scrolled through. "No," he said firmly. "I would never. Maya, I've been trying to keep your name out of the press. My PR team has been working overtime to squash these stories." "Well, they're doing a terrible job," Maya said bitterly. "I just lost a major client because of my personal associations. My business is being destroyed because people think I'm some kind of opportunistic gold digger who attached herself to you for money." James's jaw tightened. "I'll fix this. I'll have my lawyers send cease and desist letters to every outlet. I'll hold a press conference and explain exactly what happened that night." "I'll nurse," Maya said, tears burning her eyes. "Don't you see? Every move you make to help me just proves their point. Every dollar you give me, every client you steer my way, every article you try to kill, it all just confirms that I'm only successful because of you, that I'm not good enough on my own." "That's not true," James said desperately. "You are incredibly talented. You were building something real before you ever met me." "Was I?" Maya asked, her voice breaking. "Or was I just deluding myself? Derek was right, wasn't he? I'm not cut out for this world." "Derek was an abusive manipulator who tried to have me killed," James said sharply. "Don't give him that power over you." "But he was right about one thing," Maya said softly. "I don't belong here. In your world, with people who have armies of lawyers and PR teams and enough money to solve any problem, I'm just a girl from a cramped apartment who paints logos for small businesses. We're not the same." James stepped closer to her, his expression raw. "You're right," he said quietly. "We're not the same. You create beauty. You build dreams from nothing. You asked a stranger to pretend to be your date because you were brave enough to face your fears. One run a company I inherited. I make money by moving other people's money around. You're real in a way I've spent my entire life trying to be."
Yes.
Tears spilled over. "Then you understand why I can't do this," she whispered. "I can't be the girl who needs saving. I can't be defined by the man I'm with. I tried that with Derek, and it nearly destroyed me. I need to be able to stand on my own." "So stand," James said urgently. "Keep the money. Build your business. Succeed without me. I don't need to be part of your professional life. But Maya, please don't walk away from this. From us. Not when something real is right here. Maya looked at him. At this man who had defended her, saved her, believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. I need you to do something for me, she said quietly. Anything, James said immediately. I need you to take the money back. James's face went very still. Maya, all of it. Maya continued, her voice steadier now. Every dollar. I need to do this myself. I need to know that if I succeed, it's because I earned it, not because someone bought my success for me. You earned it the moment you poured your heart into building something from nothing, James said. The money is just a tool, and I'm choosing not to use that tool, Maya said. I'm choosing the hard way, the real way. James stared at her for a long moment. Then slowly, painfully, he nodded. Okay, he said quietly. I'll have the money transferred back into my account. But Maya, I need you to understand something. I'm not giving up on you, on us. I'm going to prove to you that what I feel isn't about guilt or obligation or playing hero. It's real. How? Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. James took a deep breath. I'm going to step down as CEO of Hartwell Industries, he said. Maya's eyes widened in shock. What? No, James, you can't. I've been thinking about it for months, James interrupted. Before I ever met you? This company, this life, it's not mine. It's my father's legacy, and I've been carrying it because that's what was expected. But I don't love it. I don't even like it most days. What would you do? Maya asked, disbelief and concern warring in her chest. James smiled, and for the first time since she'd known him, it looked truly free. I'd build something of my own, he said. Something small, something real. Maybe a nonprofit for artists who need funding. Maybe a consultancy for small businesses. I don't know yet. But I'd figure it out the same way you're figuring out your next steps. Without the safety net, without the inheritance, just me and whatever I can create. Maya shook her head. Can't throw away everything you have because of me. I'm not, James said firmly. I'm choosing something better. Something true. You taught me that, Maya. That night when you told me about loving your work even when it was hard. That's what I want. And if doing that means I get to stand beside you as an equal, someone building their own dream instead of living in someone else's, then it's worth it. Maya's chest felt too tight. This was too much. Too big. Too real, James, she whispered. What if this doesn't work? What if we try and it falls apart? James stepped close enough to touch her, but he kept his hands at his sides, letting her choose. Then at least we'll know, he said softly. We'll know we were brave enough to try. Maya looked into his honey-colored eyes and saw her own fear reflected back. But she also saw hope, determination. Something that looked an awful lot like love. She closed the distance between them and kissed. James made a sound of surprise and relief, his arms coming around her like she was the answer to a question he'd been asking his whole life. The kiss was desperate and gentle and full of all the things they hadn't said when they finally pulled apart. Both breathing hard, Maya rested her forehead against his. This is insane, she whispered. Completely, James agreed, smiling against her lips. We're going to regret this. Probably, we might fail, almost certainly. Maya laughed, the sound breaking free from somewhere deep in her chest. Okay, she said. Okay, let's be insane together. James pulled her close again, and for the first time in weeks. Maya felt like she could breathe. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She ignored it. Then James's phone rang. He grimaced and pulled away slightly to check it. His expression changed instantly. What? Maya asked, dread curling in her stomach. James looked at her, his face pale. Derek escaped custody, he said quietly. 30 minutes ago. And Maya, they think he's coming for you. Asterisk. The city lights blurred through the penthouse windows as Maya's world tilted sideways. Derek escaped. Coming for her. We need to get you somewhere safe, James said, already moving toward his phone. I'll call my security team. We'll get you to a secure location until the police know, Maya said, her voice sharper than she intended. James stopped. looking at her with confusion and concern. Maya, this isn't the time to be stubborn. Derek is dangerous. He already tried to. I know what he tried to do, Maya interrupted. And I'm done running from him. I'm done letting him have power over my life. He's taken enough from me. My confidence, my peace. 3 years of my life where I made myself smaller so he could feel bigger. I won't give him another second. This isn't about pride, James said urgently. This is about survival. It's about both, Maya said. Don't you see? If I hide now, if I let fear control my choices, then Derek wins. Again, he gets to make me the victim. The girl who needed saving? I can't live like that anymore. James stared at her, conflict written across his face. Then slowly, his expression shifted to something that looked like understanding. What do you want to do? He asked quietly, before Maya could answer. The private elevator dinned. They both froze. Nobody should be able to access this floor without a keycard. Nobody except James and his most trusted staff. The elevator doors slid open. Derek stepped out, a gun hanging loosely in his right hand. His expensive suit was gone, replaced by dark clothes. His face was scratched, probably from the escape. But his eyes were the worst part. They burned with something that went beyond anger into pure hatred. Hello, Maya, Derek said, his voice eerily calm. Hello, James. I hope I'm not interrupting anything important. James moved immediately, positioning himself between Maya and Derek. Security is already on their way, James said, his voice steady. The building is locked down. You're not getting out of here. I don't plan to, Derek said with a twisted smile. I just came to finish what I started. See, I've been thinking a lot over the past few weeks. About fairness. About justice. About how two people can destroy your entire life and face no real consequences. Derek, please, Maya said, stepping out from behind James. This isn't you. Whatever happened to you in custody, whatever you're going through, don't. Derek snapped, the gun twitching up slightly. Don't you dare psychoanalyze me. Don't act like you understand what it's like to lose everything because of someone else's choices. But I do understand, Maya said quietly. You did that to me, Derek. You cheated on me. You told me I was worthless. You made me believe I'd never succeed. You tried to have James killed and frame me for it. You destroyed my business reputation. So yes, I understand exactly what it's like to have someone take everything from you. Something flickered across Derek's face. Pain, maybe. Or recognition. That was different, he said, but his voice had lost some of its conviction. How? Maya pressed, taking a small step forward despite James's hand reaching out to stop her. How is it different? Because you think you deserved better? Because you think your pain matters more than mine? I loved you, Derek said, and for the first time, his voice cracked. I gave you everything. Stability. A future. And you threw it away for paint and canvas and dreams that were never going to come true. You didn't love me, Maya said, tears streaming down her face now. You loved the idea of me. The version of me that made you feel important. But you never loved the real me. The one who needed to create. The one who had dreams you couldn't understand. You wanted to own me, Derek, and when I wouldn't let you, you decided to destroy me instead. Derek's hand shook. The gun wavered. You ruined my life, he whispered. You ruined your own life the moment you chose revenge over healing. The moment you decided that hurting me would somehow make you feel whole again. But it won't, Derek. Even if you pull that trigger, even if you take everything from me, you'll still be empty. You'll still be the person who couldn't let go. A long moment. The penthouse was silent except for the sound of Derek's ragged breathing. Then James spoke, his voice gentle. It's not too late, James said. To choose differently. To walk away from this? Security is outside that elevator right now. You can put the gun down and surrender. Face the consequences, yes, but at least face them as someone who stopped before it went too far. Derek looked at James, then at Maya, then down at the gun in his hand. She chose you, Derek said bitterly. The billionaire. Of course she did. Everyone chooses people like you. People with money and power and everything I'll never have. She didn't choose me for that, James said quietly. She almost walked away because of it. Because Maya doesn't care about money or status. She cares about truth, about building something real with her own hands. That's what I love about her. And that's what you never understood. Derek's face crumpled. For a second, he looked less like a villain and more like what he really was. A broken person who'd made terrible choices and couldn't find his way back. The gun lowered slightly. I don't know how to let go, Derek whispered. Start by putting down the gun, Maya said gently. Start by choosing to stop hurting people. Derek looked at her, really looked at her, maybe for the first time in their entire relationship. I'm sorry, he said, his voice raw. For all of it, for not seeing you, for trying to make you smaller, for everything I did after, I'm so sorry. Slowly, carefully, Derek set the gun on the floor. The elevator doors burst open. Security flooded in, followed by police officers. They swarmed Derek, pulling him away from the gun, securing him with quick efficiency. Derek didn't fight. He kept his eyes on Maya as they handcuffed him. I hope you make it, he said quietly as they led him to the elevator. I hope your dreams come true. I really do. Then he was gone. Maya's legs gave out. James caught her, lowering them both to the floor. They sat there together, holding each other, as police took statements and secured the scene. It's over, James said against her hair. It's finally over. Maya nodded, but she couldn't speak yet. Too many emotions were crashing through her. Relief, grief, exhaustion, hope. Hours later, after all the statements had been given and all the police had left, Maya and James stood on the penthouse balcony. The city stretched out before them, full of lights and possibilities. What happens now? Maya asked quietly. James took her hand, threading his fingers through hers. Now we build, he said. Our lives. Our dreams. Together, but also separately. You work on your studio. I figure out what comes next after Hartwell Industries. We take it one day at a time. That's terrifying, Maya said. It is, James agreed. But it's also real. And real is better than easy. Maya looked up at him, this man who had started as a fake date and become something she couldn't quite name yet. Something that felt like home. Thank you, she said softly. For tonight, for everything. For seeing me. Thank you for letting me, James said, bending to kiss her forehead. For giving me a chance to be just James. Just a person trying to figure out how to be real. We're going to fail sometimes, Maya said. At the business stuff? At the relationship stuff? At all of it, probably, James said with a smile. But we'll fail together, and that makes all the difference. Maya leaned into him, feeling his heartbeat steady against her cheek. 6 months ago, she'd been drowning in debt and desperation. 3 weeks ago, she'd begged a stranger to be her fake date to escape her ex taut tonight. She stood in a billionaire's penthouse as an equal. Not because of his money. Not because he'd saved her. But because she'd saved herself. Because she'd chosen truth over comfort. Because she'd been brave enough to demand real love instead of convenient lies. Her phone buzzed. A new email. She opened it cautiously, expecting another client rejection or media inquiry. Instead, it was from a major tech startup. They'd seen her portfolio. They wanted to hire Dream Canvas for a complete brand redesign. 6-figure contract. No strings attached. Maya laughed, the sound bright and genuine. Good news? James asked. The best, Maya said, showing him the email. I just landed the biggest client of my career. All on my own. James's smile was radiant. I never doubted you for a second. Liar, Maya said affectionately. You doubted me plenty. Okay, maybe a little, James admitted. But only because you doubted yourself. I was just waiting for you to remember how brilliant you are. Maya kissed him, soft and sweet and full of promise. So, she said against his lips, what do we do now? James pulled her closer, his eyes warm with love and mischief. No. He said, now we live. Really live. No more pretending. No more fake dates. Just us. Just real. Just real, Maya echoed, smiling, and for the first time in as long as she could remember, she believed it. The city lights twinkled below like fallen stars. The night air was cool and perfect. And Maya Reeves, the girl who'd begged a stranger to be her fake date, stood on a penthouse balcony with the love of her life and felt completely, absolutely, wonderfully free. She'd started the evening desperate and drowning. She ended it saved. Not by a billionaire's money or power, but by her own courage. By her own choice to demand truth in a world built on pretty lies. And that made all the difference. The end.